Hello everyone, my name is Shane Elmore and I want to welcome you to the very first episode, the inaugural episode of MCRIT Conversations. That's right, it is an emergency, it is critical that we sit down and have a conversation. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what you can expect from this podcast, but before I start, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Shane Elmore. I've been a nurse since 2003, so I've been doing this nursing thing for about 19 years. I worked in the critical care ICU. I worked in the emergency department. I even worked as a flight nurse. The last role that I had that was a nursing specific role is I helped to create a mobile app that we use to improve communication for teams in the hospitals called Pulsera, and it was an incredible learning opportunity. I've also, in parallel, been working as a farmer on my own farm. It's Jester D Farm, and started back in 2006. I started farming. We have vegetable production, we have beef production. We sell direct to the consumer, both beef and pasture-raised chicken. And in 2015, I changed from a conventional style of farming to what's called a regenerative style of farming, which is going to be sitting at the foundation, the base of every conversation that we have, is this idea of regeneration. Well, something crazy happened in May of 2019. In May of 2019, again, I'd been a nurse for several years. I'm working for Pulsera. I'm traveling the world. I'm happy in what I'm doing. I know at this point I want to get out of healthcare. I enjoyed working in the hospitals where I was at, but I could tell that these organizations were broken. And I had lied to myself. I believed that somehow it was just the hospitals in my area, in the East Texas area, that were kind of backwards and really poor at communication. And honestly, it was more of a sick care system. We weren't really making people healthy. We were just treating their sickness. And it wasn't until I started working with Pulsera and traveling around the country and literally being able to walk into the doors and meet with some of the most influential players in the healthcare space that I began to realize that all of these hospitals are completely broken. It's a completely broken system, and it didn't matter how big the name was or what the name of the hospital was or the doctor. The system is broken. Well, in May of 2019, I got sick. I went from working in a broken healthcare system to spending time in the belly of the beast myself. I had an acute idiopathic pancreatitis. They really don't know why I had pancreatitis. I didn't have any risk factors for pancreatitis, but I was actually delivering a half of beef to a customer when I doubled over in pain. I immediately drove to the emergency department, and I spent 65 days straight in the hospital. I almost died a couple of times during that hospitalization, and I ended up having a surgery. It was a 20-hour surgery. It was 14 hours the first time. They kind of emergently had to close me back up and heal me for a couple of days in the intensive care unit on a ventilator, where then they were able to go in and finish up the last 6 hours of the surgery. Now, I was a big boy before this happened. I was probably 285 pounds, and if I were a cow with my frame size, that's one way of saying I was a little bit heavy for my frame. But I went from 285 pounds down to 150 pounds. I thought I was going to die. I was depressed and I was miserable. And sometimes it takes hitting the bottom and spending time in the belly of the beast, that whenever I crawled my way back out of that pit of pain, addiction, despair, and misery, a point to where I wanted to die and I prayed for death and it would not come, that I began to experience for the first time, real, true healing. And so that's what this channel is going to be all about. That's what these conversations are going to be all about. So I want to tell you a little bit about what you can expect. First of all, I realized something that, and you'll hear this come through in all of my videos and all of my conversations, that everything is connected, right? I say that they didn't really know why I had pancreatitis. It's crazy. that I was seen by dozens of doctors in the hospital for 65 days. I had pancreatitis. I was being seen by gastroenterologists. They asked me all about the medications that I took, but not one doctor ever sat down and talked to me about the food that I was putting in my mouth, the food that I was eating. It was all about medication and medication management. But let me tell you, the spiritual component, the physical component, the emotional piece of it, our relationships, the environment, all of this stuff is connected. And I want to have conversations, and I want to share with you what I've learned in 19 years as a nurse, what I'm learning as a farmer, and what I'm learning as a farming consultant. I want to bring all that together to share with you how I'm seeing the world. And I want to understand how it is that you're seeing the world, but everything is connected. I'm also learning, and I want to talk about the fact that I'm learned more about healthcare as a farmer than I ever learned about healthcare as a nurse for 19 years. We've been spending way too long where the people who are supposed to be focused on health are not focused on food. And the people like the farmers who are focused on the food aren't focused at all on health. You know, and I had a scary thought the other day. The average farmer knows about as much about nutrition as the average doctor. And I don't know which of those two scares me more. So I want to talk about that with you. Another thing that I want to talk about as I go through this journey of what I'm learning, meeting with other healthcare workers, meeting with other farmers, growing crops, trying to find health, is you're going to hear me talk about regenerative agriculture. I believe that regenerative agriculture is the answer to the problems that we face in our world today. It is the model that Mother Nature has given us to heal herself, and I believe it's the pathway back to healing ourselves, each other, and our land. So I'm going to talk about a lot about regenerative. I want you to understand that regenerative process. It goes well beyond the idea of agriculture just being, sustainable. I believe that regenerative agriculture and a regenerative lifestyle is the path forward. And so I want to, thank you for watching this video. I'm going to be putting out a number of videos, and they're going to be shorter, but I'm a teacher at heart. I'm going to share with you the things that I'm learning, and I want you to be able to hear these things. I don't want you to take whatever I say at face value. I want you to do your own research. I want you to tap into your own thoughts, journal, write it down, think for a change. Tap into your own intuition and ask yourself if the things that I'm saying, are they true? Can they be true? I want you to respond back. I want to know what you think. I want to understand how you can apply it to your life. Sure, I'm going to be talking in here, and there's going to be a lot of viewers who are focused on agriculture. They're starting a farm. They're trying to do regenerative practices. But the things that I'm talking about, they also apply to our healthcare workers. It also applies to a mom and a dad who are trying to feed nutritionally dense food to their children. It applies to everyone that whenever we're going into the grocery store and we can see that the food is scarce. Number two, the food is expensive. And when we get down to it, the food that we have available to us, it's just not very nutritious. So I'm inviting you on this journey. I thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to everything that we are going to be learning together.